Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If you are a new viewer, welcome. My name is Olga Donchenko. I'm a real estate agent in Toronto. Today, I am excited to welcome a wonderful guest that I've been eager to interview. It's Kat Rose with Kat Rose Design. It's an interior firm that's been around for over 15 years.
Yep.
Doing some wonderful interior design. And actually, you probably may have seen Kat on the TV because I know you've participated in various design shows, HGTV, Property Brothers. Correct me if I'm listing them correctly, but
I was just on Gut Job, so
Okay.
that's a new season's coming out this fall, and I've been behind the scenes on several different shows over the years.
And I've seen your design work in real life as well, which is quite wonderful.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining.
Thanks for having me.
It's always a pleasure. I have some interesting questions in store, and I think one of the most popular questions that a lot of the, clients that I have or just people that I know that ask is, what are the design trends for the next year?
Right now, we're seeing a lot of green. It's super popular. Softer greens are being used as a neutral in place of white, and dark greens are being used in place of black. That's one of the newest things. Stripes are on trend right now. Two-tone stripes. We're seeing that in different furniture pieces, in fabric for pillows, drapery, area rugs, and we're also seeing it being displayed with tile.
Oh, that's exciting. I mean, it's probably a little bit of a different take from what I've been seeing, at least from the interiors I've been through, where it was a lot of contrast. This sounds like it's more of like a softer, less of, the bold contrast happening there with what you're saying.
I mean, it is a dramatic look. Some of the stripes can be a little bit more bold. The green has a tendency to either be, as I said, a neutral, or it can be really bold and be used as a black. But we're also seeing a lot of tone on tone, which is using the same color family and layering that with different fabrics and materials and patterns through the space.
And a lot of the time when I go into like a potential client's home and they ask me like, what would you change? I would say reserve to painting. That's probably the fastest way to brighten up, refresh the space, and actually just a lot of the time also for buyers to personalize the space quickly when they're switching properties without really spending a lot of money.
Yeah, it definitely changes the look of a space.
Yeah. What do you think are the do's and don'ts of a renovation? If you can recommend.
There's so many, but one of the do's that we ask of our clients in terms of renovation is we ask for a budget up front, but we also ask them to hold aside contingency money, which is about 10 to 15%. And the reason that we do that is because the budget is used to encompass all of the items that we're bringing into the space during the renovation. But sometimes during demolition or during the renovation, things come up that we're not prepared for. So maybe there's black mold that we didn't see, or there's water damage that we weren't able to see until we went into the demolition phase. And in those cases, it's good to have a just-in-case fund, which is called your contingency, just in case some of those things come up.
Right. What about the don'ts?
The don'ts, I would say, don't start a project without a plan. I think it's really important, especially when you're trying to stay on budget, to decide on things before you start the renovation. So your floor plans, electrical, plumbing, lighting, even furniture selection, it's good to have those things decided on before you start your renovation so that you can stay within that budget.
For sure. It's like I always tell people, you got to do some homework before you jump into it, right?
Definitely.
So, probably. So less surprises this way.
Less surprises, yeah. You want to be prepared for things. You want to know where you want things to go, what walls are coming down, and it's better to plan those things before you get going.
So that actually leads me into the next question. How do you select the right designer for the project you're envisioning in your mind?
Well, I mean, social media is amazing. It's great to look at the designer's website for sure so that you can see their portfolio, but also see the latest things that they're doing on something like Instagram. And you want to be connected to the designer. You want to have their designs resonate with you. And the other thing that a lot of designers offer is a discovery phone call, which is where you either chat on the phone or you do a Zoom call for about 15 to 30 minutes and you see if you guys have good chemistry, because that's really important because you're spending a lot of time working back and forth with that designer. And so you want to make sure that you have good chemistry with them.
Oh, that sounds exciting. I didn't know about the phone call. I think that's a very good way because I would envision that it's a strong relationship-based business, right?
Definitely.
And as you mentioned, you might be there for months or even a couple of years doing or rebuilding or building fresh. And you need to have a good relationship and I guess visions similar to what your designer is doing. So this way you can really execute exactly what you're envisioning.
Yeah, exactly. You want to be comfortable with them. You want to feel like you can feel connected to them.
And the phone calls, is that something that you offer as part of your services as well?
Yeah, that is something that I offer.
That's exciting.
So that's
you guys got to get on that call.
So that's complimentary. But then the next step from that, if you feel like you have a good rapport with that designer, would be a consultation. And so that's something that you would go to next after you did the discovery call.
And how does that work? You meet on site and you go through the project, or it's more of like a conversation around what a particular client is envisioning for the space? Because sometimes I find like maybe they haven't even purchased the place that they would like to renovate, but they have this idea where they want to move up or they want to downsize.
Yeah, so design consultations, the ones I offer, are 2 hours long. And they're very client driven. And the reason for that is because sometimes clients aren't looking to have you on for the entire project.
Right.
They're just looking to have an expert give them some advice on specific things that they're looking to make decisions on. So for example, tile or different furniture pieces or how they're going to lay out a space. So you can utilize the design consultation to get answers based on that. But it can also be used as a jumping off point for larger full scale renovations where the designer is going to be coming on for the full duration of the project.
And talking about these maybe larger scale projects, how do you work with, like there's a builder involved or maybe there's an architect involved and there's a whole like process happening, right? And there's sourcing of materials, for example. Is that something that you offer as well as part of your services?
Yeah, so we offer a full-scale design service, which is the entire scope of the project. So we start with the quoting phase. We do a design phase where we're planning and designing the entire project. That includes floor plans, design boards, budgets, furniture selections, and then you go into the ordering phase during the construction phase. So that happens simultaneously. And then at the very end, once construction is done, we move all the furniture in, and that's our install.
And what's your favorite part of that design process?
I mean, it's really rewarding to see the space completed, but it's fun to do the designing phase because you're coming up with ideas that you're hoping the homeowner will love, and it's a great way to begin your relationship with them.
For sure. And from what I heard, your clients, once they become very long-term clients. So once you develop that, I find it's the best sign of a great designer.
Yeah.
If you have your long-term clients who come back and they continue redesigning their project, that means you've listened to exactly what they wanted and you got that thing done.
I feel like it's the same with real estate, right? Like you have repeat clients, and that means that, you really connected with them and you did a great job and they love your work. So
for sure,
it's really rewarding.
I think that's our goal for both professions, right? Like
absolutely.
That's how we want to operate and that's how we want the business to run.
Yeah.
Can you share your most memorable or maybe even like a challenging situation that you came out of creatively in your career? I'm sure there's lots of them, but like maybe one that stands out that you can share with us.
I mean, there's challenging in a way where something went wrong, or
probably because we all have those coming along, right? Or just a happy client experience.
I mean, there's so many different things. I think in TV, it's a little bit more fast paced.
Yeah.
So there's chances for things to come up that you weren't necessarily prepared for. But I think having a great team is really important. And that's kind of how you move through those issues and come through, in a positive light at the end of it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And seeing, I guess, the happy, teary eyes, happy smiles of the client at the end of the whole project when they walk into the space, that must be rewarding as well.
I mean, it's kind of funny because in TV, when we're shooting and we do the big reveal, we always hope, fingers crossed, that the client cries.
Yeah.
Not in a bad way. Of course, we don't want them to be upset. We want them to be happy tears and like super excited about seeing their space. So that's something that we always hope for.
Have you noticed there to be any perhaps design that's specific to Toronto homes?
Again, I think every home is different. I think every client is different. So it's really based on what the homeowner is looking for and you as a designer, how you design and what you want to incorporate into their space.
Do you still see there to be a trend for the open concept living, or people are going into more of like a traditional layout of the space?
We're still seeing a lot of open concept, but also keeping in mind to create zones in that open concept so that each space in the room feels separated, but also unified.
If I am to change only one thing in my house, where would you start?
I mean, that's such a big question. It really depends on the home and what it is that you're trying to accomplish. Paint is a great place to start. Paint can change the look of a space in such a big way. And it's an inexpensive way to make a change in your home. So I would say that's a great place to start.
Nice. So, quick question. Paint or wallpaper?
I mean, wallpaper is making a huge comeback, and we're seeing that being used in a lot of spaces now in powder rooms and essentially just bringing life to your walls. That's a big thing now.
Yeah, I think I'm noticing it more, like the properties that are starting to sell now and going into like the newer properties that may have been renovated or built new. I'm seeing a lot more use of wallpapers. So I was curious to see if it was actually making a comeback. So it's exciting.
Yeah, it definitely is. It's
and
really
do you find
exciting.
There's a wider selection now of wallpapers than
Oh
there
my
was
gosh,
before?
there's so many to choose from. There's a lot. It's all about, do you want to bring in a floral pattern? Are you looking for something geometric? And then kind of narrowing that down and going from there.
If I wanted to make my space look larger, what would be the go-to trick to doing that?
It's all about furniture placement. It's about how you space plan the room and how you lay everything out. I would say that that's the biggest way to make a room feel more open.
Sounds good. It's interesting you say that, because a lot of the time we can walk into a listing appointment with a client and they will ask like, what would you change? And sometimes it's a simple shift of a sofa that will make the space look so different. And because the person is in the space so many years, maybe seeing the same thing, they don't even necessarily pick up on the minor switches.
Sometimes it's hard to see it when it's your space and you've been in it for so long. It's hard to see how you can change it. And that's where the help of an expert comes in.
That's when you need the interior designer to come in. For sure. Well, thank you for answering my questions. Before we go, maybe there is an advice that you want to give our viewers, or perhaps a word of encouragement, because I know sometimes you're speaking with people, telling them to consider, like hiring an interior design to redesign their space, and just the idea of going through the process sounds like very overwhelming to them. So what would be your professional advice or word of encouragement to them?
I think that a discovery call is always a great way to get a sense of if you have a connection with the designer and you want to move forward with them. Discovery calls are between 15 to 30 minutes, and it's either on a phone call or on Zoom. And essentially, it's just to see if you have good chemistry with the designer. And I think that's really important, because you're going to be spending a lot of time going back and forth with them during the design process.
For sure. It's a strong relationship-based connection that you need to have in order to be... I agree with that, because if you feel comfortable with designer, I think that will give you confidence to move along and know that if you come into an obstacle where you don't know what to do, you have a professional who knows what to do. Exactly.
Exactly.
For sure. Some quick questions for you.
Okay.
Primary for the dog or guest bedroom?
With my Frenchie, primary.
That's a spoiled dog.
He's a spoiled baby.
Royalty.
Yes.
Would you say area rugs or wall-to-wall carpeting?
I would probably opt for area rugs
On top of hardwood.
on top of hardwood.
Yes. I like that design. Winter renovation or summer?
Probably summer.
So you're not going to the cottage.
Well, there's weekends.
For sure. Light wood or dark wood for hardwoods?
I think every home is different, so I plead the fifth.
Or both?
Both.
Neutrals or moody tones?
That's hard. I feel like that's a tie.
Probably depending on the space.
It depends on the space.
Office built-ins, wood or painted?
Also depends on the space, but I'll go with painted.
Marbles or porcelain slabs in your kitchen?
Again, it depends on the space, but let's go with porcelain.
Easier for maintenance.
It is.
I like that. Yes. Glass railing or wood?
Let's go with wood.
Classic.
Yeah, it's not as cold. Depends on the space again, but we'll go with wood for the question.
if you have a pup that sleeps in the primary bedroom, there's
Yes.
no noses left on the glass.
Exactly.
What do you choose? A home in the city or a mansion in the countryside?
I would probably go for a home in the city. It's just because of the location and it being closer to the areas that I design in.
And as a realtor, I love hearing the words location, location, location.
Yeah.
So definitely that. Next question is, would you renovate or rebuild?
I would probably renovate so that we could keep some of the character of the home.
And some of the original elements.
Exactly.
Perfect. Well, thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for tuning into this episode. And make sure to like and subscribe. Drop us some comments down below. If you have any questions, if you want to share your design experience, we'll be happy to answer. I'll link Kat's website and her Instagram page so you can check out some designs and truly get inspired because she's got some phenomenal work there. And for sure, stay tuned for more episodes to come.